In the 110-year history of the Salt Lake Chamber, 102 people have served in the position now known as Chair of the Board of Governors. Board chairs serve a one-year term, each term of service beginning in July, and joining us today is the new Chair of the Salt Lake Chamber Board of Governors, Scott Parson. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I think first let's get to know the guy who's in charge of the Chamber for the next year. Tell me a little bit about you. You're born in Brigham City, grew up there, and then went to college here. Tell us a little bit about your education.
I went to school at BYU, graduated there, and then headed off to get an MBA at the University of Chicago. After finishing business school, I returned to the company my grandfather started, actually a construction company based here in Utah that is now known as Staker and Parson companies.
Tell me a little bit about the organization and what you do.
Our company is based in Ogden, and we are a construction materials supply business, build highways, sell sand and gravel, concrete, asphalt, landscape products, and we do that throughout Utah, and Idaho, Arizona, and Nevada. My grandpa started the business back in 1952, and since that time we've grown, and we now have about 2,000 employees that work in our business.
Chairman of the board isn't something you get your first year involved with the Chamber, so tell me a little bit about how you started, what your first involvement was with the Chamber, and what that was like for you to start off.
Sure. Well, like many companies, I think that it takes a while to really become engaged in the Chamber, and we had been approached in the mid-2000s multiple times year after year, come join the Salt Lake Chamber, and it was difficult for us to make that decision. But once the Chamber focused on an issue that was critical for our business, which was transportation and transportation funding, we became very involved, and that was kind of our beginning in 2005. And during that time the Chamber was very integral in a group called the 2015 Transportation Alliance, and I became involved in that group, which was centered around raising transportation funding so that we could keep up with the needs of our businesses, population growth, and make sure our economy is on track with the infrastructure needs to keep products moving to market.
You mentioned there that it was a difficult decision to make. You approached a number of times to join the Chamber. Your company is found along the Wasatch Front throughout several states, but headquartered in Ogden. Did that factor into why it was difficult? Just the general misnomer of the Chamber that it's a statewide chamber with the Salt Lake name.
You know, I don't think where we were based was as important as it took a few years for us to really grasp what the Chamber was all about and how our business would benefit by joining the Chamber. And once we caught the vision of that, we've been very involved ever since.
You mentioned benefiting your business. Clearly the Transportation Alliance played into that. Is there a continuing benefit beyond that?
Sure. There's many different benefits. We've found value in the opportunity to network, get to know other Chamber members. Some of those members are our customers or our associates in the business world that we work in, and also training opportunities, development for our employees. Those have all been very good benefits for our company. I think probably for me personally the most important thing is the public policy work that the Chamber does, which really represents my company in a way that is very difficult for an individual company to do. Whenever there are issues at the Capitol, public policy issues that can affect our business moving forward, the Chamber has been a very good advocate for the things that make Utah a great place to do business.
Been an active member in the Chamber for a number of years, vice chair last year, and this year it's your shot to kind of steer the ship. So give me an idea of what the next year looks like to you. What do you see the Chamber making progress on over the next year?
Well, this is a very challenging time to be working in this position in the Chamber and also leading a large organization. Very challenging economic time, and as I've looked at the goals that I hope that we can achieve this year in the Chamber, it really comes back to fundamentals. My business is all about building the foundation, selling products that make foundations, whether it's of roads, of buildings, of schools, of homes. And I think this is a time we can shore up the foundation of Utah's economy, and so strengthening Utah's economy to really poise our businesses to succeed coming out of the Great Recession is what I hope that we can accomplish. And there's basically 5 areas where we will be focusing our efforts during the coming year. And those different areas, the first is workforce. We need to make sure that we have an educated and skilled workforce to accommodate the growth that we know will come to Utah businesses. The second area is in the area of infrastructure. We need to make sure we have transportation, energy, utilities, all of the different infrastructure needs for businesses to continue to grow. The third area, and kind of central to what we're focusing on, is economic development. The Chamber has an important role to play in helping make sure that Utah leads the way in terms of economic development, that businesses choose to come to Utah when they are faced with other choices where they can grow their business. In the area of business climate, and making sure that Utah has a favorable business climate for our existing businesses and for new businesses that would choose to grow in Utah. And the last area is in the area of professional development and providing opportunities for our employees to grow and develop and to make sure that they're on the cutting edge, so that the end result of all this is to make sure that Utah remains the best place to do business. And I firmly believe that we're not just the best place to do business in the United States, but I think we have the capability in Utah to be the best place to do business in the world. And that's what we're going to be focusing on during the coming year at the Chamber.
Taking it back to fundamentals, but still having high-reaching goals, a good way to go. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming legislative session. There are going to be a couple of issues that are particularly hot button.
Sure.
I think education was last year when it came to a matter of funding and whether they were going to fund growth or where they were going to make cuts.
Right.
The Chamber played a big part in where everything ended up in the end. And then I think clearly immigration. So give me an idea of where you see us headed on those 2 issues.
I think you've raised 2 very critical issues that will continue to be very important during the coming year. Healthcare is another area where I think my business, and I think most businesses, are very unsure, have a lot of uncertainty and concern about the direction that healthcare is going both nationally and how that will impact our businesses. I think the focus for this year, as we see it, still a few months away, that really will be centered on education and immigration and the healthcare issues, and then any other issues that come up. I think you can be assured that the Chamber will be looking out to make sure that businesses are looked after and that the state continues to have solid policies that create a favorable business climate.
This is probably a no-brainer question to wrap up, but tell me a little bit about your view on the importance of the business community having a voice in public policy. You mentioned that's why your company initially got involved with the Chamber. How essential is that, and maybe how important of an element is that to the fact that Utah does have such a positive business climate, that the business community has a voice?
I think it's critical for the business community to have a voice, and members of the Chamber, businesses throughout the state, whether members or not, by actively engaging in the public policy process, can help ensure that we do have a favorable climate. And that goes right to participating in your local caucus meetings, elections, voting, engaging your employees in that process. And as soon as business steps away from that, then we can be sure that the climate will change and it will no longer be as favorable as we find it today. So it's critical to do that. The Chamber does a great job, has excellent resources to make sure that Utah remains the best place to do business in the world.
Scott Parson, the new board chair of the Salt Lake Chamber Board of Governors, best of luck to you over the next year.
Thank you very much.